This is from the SAT number 9. So 24 says, according to the passage, the nice model is built on the idea that something. So what we need to do is, we notice this is an according to the passage type question. So this is one of those questions where there's a very specific sentence that will answer this question for us. And so what we need to do is go back and find that specific sentence that will tell us about the nice model. And we have, this is pretty good that we have this mentioned here. The nice model, because that's easy to scan for. It's a nice big proper noun, so we can scan easy for that. We can also note that this question here, if you followed along the last video, lines 18 through 20 ended up being the correct answer choice. But the last text here mentioned is like 23. Over here, this line is 34. So I would expect somewhere like between 15 and 20, lines 15 and 20, and then 34 at the highest, we'll probably expect to see something about the nice model. We may not for sure, which means we just have to scan the rest of the passage. But let's start sort of over in this area and maybe scan down towards this paragraph here, looking for the nice model, and we should note it here, right? So here we have the first, let's turn that off. Here we have the first mention of the nice model. Then it goes on to explain what this is, right? So according to this idea, known as, let's do it like this. Not looking good. So here, according to this idea, known as the nice model, Uranus and Neptune went rampaging through the outer solar system around 3.9 billion years ago. And then we can keep reading if you want a little more context, which just says, as a result, many of the icy objects that formed in the outer solar system were pulled inward by the gravity of the two planets, and some ended up joining the rocky asteroids that were born in the asteroid belt. So basically what this is saying is that Uranus and Neptune, they went rampaging, meaning they were sort of moving through the outer solar system a long, long time ago. And many of the icy objects that were also around the outer solar system, but smaller, they were attracted by the gravity of the two planets and ended up sort of following them and being dragged into the asteroid belt. That's what the nice model is. So that just gives us a general framework of what the model is, and then we can choose an answer choice that will most closely match that. So A says Uranus and Neptune were not always locked into their current orbital paths. This right off the bat should make sense, because we know back up here it says according to the model, Uranus and Neptune went rampaging through the outer solar system. So if they're rampaging through the outer solar system, or if they're moving through the outer solar system, that means they're not going to be locked in their current orbital paths, right? So answer choice A is a good choice. Let's keep it. B says Ceres traveled a greater distance than any other object in the solar system did. So just going back, right in the little text that we looked, it didn't say anything about Ceres traveling farther than other objects in the outer solar system. And this is something that we should expect to notice. One of the hesitations might be, well, maybe I missed it somewhere else in the passage, so let me go back and scan the rest of the passage. But you should be comfortable in the fact that the SAT is pretty standardized. So when you're doing a question like this that's talking about according to the passage, when you follow the question order rule, meaning you sort of look at the placement of questions before and after, and you pick the one in between, and when you find a text that is about the nice model, it's probably not going to be mentioned again, and so you're probably not missing any information as long as you read that context with, you expand it. You're a little flexible with the specific sentence, you read a little bit around it to get some of the context. You're not going to be missing anything. And this is something that we shouldn't have to think too hard. Like, if this was in there, it would tell us very directly that Ceres traveled a greater distance, but it doesn't. And it sort of lumps them in with everything else, right? Many of the icy objects that formed in the outer solar system were pulled inward, right? Without specifying that Ceres traveled farther than any of the other ones. So that's going to make B wrong. Then we have C, which says objects formed in the inner solar system were able to resist the gravitational pull of Uranus and Neptune. I wouldn't even think about this one too much. I mean, basically what this is saying is that, Uranus and Neptune pulled these things from the outer solar system inwards, but the ones in the inner solar system, they were fine. They were able to resist it. But again, maybe it makes sense. Maybe we could, if we thought too deeply about it, we could make this connection, but it's not in there. And if it were in there, it would say it very directly. So we can get rid of C. D says icy objects like Ceres were formed in the inner solar system. This is the complete opposite of what we read, which says that many of the icy objects including Ceres, right? Ceres would simply be the largest of these immigrants. Many of these icy objects, just like Ceres, were pulled from the outer solar system inwards, so they were not formed in the inner solar system, which means we can choose answer choice A for our correct answer. Let's make it green, because why not? Let's get some color. Perfect.